February 2003, Antwerp, Belgium. In the most heavily protected square mile in the global diamond trade, something impossible happened. By the time employees arrived for work on Monday morning, over $100 million in diamonds had vanished. No alarms had sounded, no doors had been forced, no guards had reported anything unusual. The vault, considered the most secure private diamond vault in the world, was still locked. From the outside, everything looked normal, until they opened it. 2 floors beneath the Antwerp Diamond Center, a building that handles billions in precious stones every year, sat a fortress designed by engineers who assumed criminals would try everything. Heat sensors, seismic detectors, magnetic field locks, timed mechanisms, surveillance systems layered over surveillance systems. A steel door thick enough to withstand industrial attack. Security experts were confident. You couldn't rush this vault. You couldn't drill it. You couldn't blow it open. If you wanted in, you'd need something more powerful than force. If you wanted in, brute force wouldn't work. You'd need patience. You'd need precision. And you'd need to understand the system better than the people who built it. Because this vault couldn't be defeated with violence. It had to be defeated with knowledge. And that's exactly what they had. When investigators finally assessed the vault, more than 100 deposit boxes had been opened and cleared out. No shattered metal, no forced hinges, no debris on the floor. Everything else remained intact. This wasn't a rushed break-in. It was controlled, deliberate, surgical. How do you rob a vault built to stop armies without triggering a single alarm? And how did one careless mistake nearly expose the most sophisticated diamond heist in modern history? The robbery didn't begin with drills or explosives. It began with paperwork. Leonardo Notarbartolo arrived in Antwerp, presenting himself as a diamond merchant from Italy. He dressed the part, spoke the language of trade, moved comfortably in auctions and private showings. Eventually, he did something crucial. He rented an office inside the Antwerp Diamond Center, legally. Becoming a tenant didn't just give him workspace, it gave him credibility. And with credibility came privileges, including the ability to rent his own safe deposit box inside the underground vault. That detail mattered, because vault access wasn't open to the public. It was reserved for registered tenants and authorized clients. This wasn't infiltration, it was integration. Once inside, he had something far more powerful than force: legitimate access. He passed through security daily, learned badge routines, observed camera coverage, noted when guards rotated shifts. He wasn't casing the vault like a thief. He was studying it like an employee. Behind the scenes, he assembled a team: a safe specialist with years of experience, an electronics technician who understood alarm systems, local collaborators who knew the city's rhythms. They spent nearly 2 years preparing. Outside the city, they rented a warehouse. Inside, they recreated the vault's layout from memory: sensor placement, corridor width, door positioning. They rehearsed movements over and over until stepping between detection zones became instinct. There was still one major barrier. The vault required a physical key, one of only a few in existence. These keys weren't stored casually. They were held by high-level personnel and used during supervised access to the vault area. No one was supposed to copy them. No one was supposed to even handle them unnecessarily. Leonardo didn't steal one. He engineered a moment. During a legitimate visit regarding his own deposit box, he engaged a vault supervisor in conversation about the locking mechanism, asking seemingly harmless questions about whether he was inserting the key correctly. When the supervisor briefly took the key to demonstrate, Leonardo created a distraction just long enough to capture a detailed image of its profile using a concealed camera. Seconds. That was all he needed. That image became the blueprint. After multiple refinements and expensive failed attempts, they produced a duplicate precise enough to work. By early 2003, they weren't hoping, they were ready. Mid-February, a long weekend. The building was quieter than usual. Just before midnight, Leonardo entered through the front door using his legitimate credentials. Nothing unusual about a tenant working late. Later that night, the crew arrived to conduct the operation together. The corridor leading to the vault wasn't protected by only one system. It was protected by many. Heat detection scanned for body temperature. To counter it, they temporarily altered the sensor surfaces, reducing their ability to detect thermal changes. Motion sensors swept in predictable arcs. The team moved only during calculated blind windows. Magnetic sensors monitored any change in the door's position. They used electronic tools that disrupted the signal just enough to avoid triggering backup alarms. Security cameras were not smashed or covered. They were deceived. For a limited period, the system was shown recorded footage instead of live images. Then came the door. A reinforced barrier weighing thousands of pounds with multiple locking systems built to work separately. A traditional mechanical combination lock, an electronic access system, and a time delay mechanism that couldn't be rushed. The team worked both simultaneously. The electronics were overridden, the mechanical components manipulated with patience and experience. Slowly, piece by piece, resistance gave way. When the vault opened, it revealed rows of deposit boxes, each one privately owned, each one containing wealth accumulated over decades. They did not panic. They did not rush. They selected portable, high-value items. Loose diamonds, gold, cash. Heavy items were left behind. The goal wasn't chaos, it was efficiency. For several hours, they worked methodically. Before dawn, they reversed their interference. Systems resumed normal function. Doors relocked. Corridors looked untouched. By morning, they were gone. The vault appeared secure until someone checked inside. When employees accessed the vault after the weekend, nothing seemed out of place at first glance. The vault door was closed. The locks were still engaged. But when the first client attempted to access his deposit box, it wouldn't open normally. Inside, the contents were gone. Staff checked another box, then another. One after another, valuables were missing. But there was no sign of forced entry, no alarms triggered in the logs, no emergency calls recorded. The impossible had happened quietly. Investigators struggled to understand how such an advanced system had been bypassed without leaving obvious damage. But the flaw in the plan wasn't technical. It was human. Days later, a discarded bag was discovered along a roadside outside the city. Inside were items that should have been destroyed: gloves, tape, food packaging, documents with handwritten notes. Small details, but enough. DNA traces, fingerprints, connections to locations and purchases. From there, the investigation accelerated. Surveillance footage was reviewed, vehicle movements reconstructed, financial transactions examined. The operation that had seemed untouchable began to unravel. Arrests followed, including Leonardo. Leonardo Notarbartolo was arrested in 2003. Several members of the crew were later identified and convicted as well, though not all served long sentences. In 2005, Leonardo was sentenced to 10 years in prison. He served only a portion of that term and was released early under conditional supervision. Today, he is no longer in prison. Some accomplices were also incarcerated. Others were never fully prosecuted. But something remains unresolved. A large portion of the stolen diamonds was never recovered. Unlike cash, diamonds don't carry serial numbers. They can be cut into smaller stones. repolished, reintroduced into markets under new identities. Once altered, they are nearly impossible to trace back to their origin. Some believe only part of the network was exposed. Others believe much of the haul quietly entered international circulation. Today, the Antwerp diamond heist remains one of the most sophisticated non-violent robberies in modern history. Not because of destruction, not because of chaos, but because of preparation. They didn't storm the fortress, they became part of it. And that leaves an uncomfortable question. Did the heist truly fail? Or did investigators only catch the portion that was meant to be caught? And somewhere in the world today, those diamonds are still being bought and sold, with no one knowing where they came from.